How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Down to Earth with me, Kristian Harloff. This is our Monday through Friday UAP news channel where we try to cover all the stories, well, a lot of the stories of what's going on in the world of the UAP phenomena. What is it? What's happening? Ask questions, because nobody in the major news outlets is really doing it. So we've got to do it. We got to be one of the many that are here giving you the information so you can find it when you're looking at what's going on. So there was a report a little while ago about, and this came from, well, first of all, we had Avi Loeb on the show not too long ago. Well, he was asked a question from NBC News. It's labeled "Harvard professor discusses research claiming that aliens may live on Earth." This is a report that came in a little while ago claiming that aliens were indeed walking among us. Now, interview with Avi Loeb, he was talking about the recently released Harvard paper that was highlighting the cryptoterrestrial hypothesis. Now, to be clear, I'm reading this from Michelangelo's tweet. Avi Loeb from Harvard didn't write the paper, and it sounds like he doesn't support it either. He also talks about his trip to New Guinea, searching for meteorite fragments or droplets on the ocean for the floor. This is what we talked about when we spoke with him. Avi Loeb says he doesn't know for sure yet if the droplets are just pieces of rock or pieces of something artificial. So I'm going to play this full clip for you guys, and then after the clip, we're going to talk about all of this. I'm going to bring Pavel in to discuss it. Here we go.
Now, as insane as it may sound, it looks like a Harvard paper by social science researchers raised some pretty far out there possibilities that could explain the whole UAP stuff that I have become very obsessed with. They're posing 4 possibilities, like maybe crypto-terrestrials or like this secret advanced civilization that's been hiding somewhere here on Earth, or even maybe the moon where we can't see them, or maybe humans from the future are visiting us, or maybe like magical beings like fairies or angels are real. Now, has this paper been peer-reviewed? No. It looks like the original link doesn't work anymore either, but those headlines traveled the world anyway. So what the heck is going on? Well, we are lucky enough to be joined by the one and only Harvard academic and astrophysicist who we've been talking to about UAP issues for years, Harvard University professor of science and astronomy, Avi Loeb. Professor, thanks so much for being with us. And as soon as I saw the headlines on this paper, I ran to this paper, I scanned, I did not see your name attached there. So I do have to say, though, whether you had anything to do with this or not, you have been, in my eyes, one of the first academics, Ivy League academics, that has taken the idea of extraterrestrials very seriously and discussed it. I'm not sure what kind of Pandora's box you opened, but when it comes to this paper, I got to ask, what do you think about your peers, what they're writing over at Harvard there?
Well, thanks for having me. Indeed, I think that it's arrogant of us to think that we are the only ones out there. There might be much more advanced civilizations, because we came late to the game, and most stars from billions of years before the sun, and a quarter of them have planets the size of the Earth, roughly at the same separation. So it would be really pretentious of us to assume that Albert Einstein was the smartest scientist who ever lived since the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago. Nevertheless, science is all about evidence. We should be humble and accept the data as a guide towards what's out there. And there is no evidence supporting the claims in this paper. Mm-hmm. And obviously, over the millennia, people came up with a lot of ideas about what might be out there. However, without the data, we cannot proceed. And there are many more possibilities than the one realized in nature. And to find out what's out there, we just need to use instruments, look out, and check the evidence.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying that if you were peer reviewing this paper, it would get a big red, where is the evidence on it?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's very easy to come up with ideas, much more difficult to come up with materials from interstellar space. So I'm actually pursuing the latter.
Okay, so that clip is essentially this paper that comes out and the claims of that. And this is what I talked about the other day. I don't know if you watched my other channel. My dad called me up and said, "Hey, did you hear this thing? There was a Harvard paper that said aliens are running around the joint. What's going on?" And it got coverage. This is one of those ones, as I mentioned up top. You're like, wait a minute, NBC covered this. Yes. I don't know if this was on actual television. It might have been. but I saw it on the internet. Did you see it on TV? Maybe you did. And maybe this is something that they're actually paying attention to. I don't know. But when you listen to what Avi Loeb says, this is, I think, with everything. And this is a question that we continue to do with not just a paper of this stature, but when it comes to the stuff that David Grush says, when this comes to anything, I think the main question that all of us are asking is, yes, we get the theory, we understand the theory, we understand what you're saying, we understand that you're hearing this from somebody who knows somebody, but where's the proof? Where's the evidence, right? Now, there are a lot of people who say, well, we have the evidence, we can't show you the evidence. We have the evidence that's classified, we can't do that. So I want to know a little bit more about this paper. I want to know a little bit more about this in general. And to answer a few more of those questions, I've got Pavel with me here today. Pavel, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, Kristian, how's it going?
Good, man. So this is, obviously, we start with the paper itself. You broke this whole thing down in your channel. Give me a breakdown of this for the audience to understand exactly, A, what this paper was really all about, B, why would they come to this claim and putting this out there if you can have someone like an Avi Loeb go, what are you guys doing? There's no proof here. Why are you just saying that there's aliens walking among us?
Well, first of all, I think the headlines were a little clickbaity when it comes to this, but we know how it is, in the internet space. The paper was written by 2 Harvard scientists and 1 from Montana Tech. The scientist from Montana Tech is a well-known figure in the UFO community. It's Dr. Michael P. Masters. He famously also wrote another hypothesis, which is the extraterrestrial model. Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting book that I've already read, and it deals with the future human hypothesis. And the fact that he was part of this, which is, in my view, a sociological point of view of what this could be. He's an anthropologist, morphological anthropologist. So he explains the possibilities of what these beings could be. So the fact that he's already part of 2 hypotheses, I think it's really important. But yeah, it's a hypothesis, and it deals with 4 different types of potential cryptoterrestrials. It doesn't say that they exist. It doesn't say that it's proven they exist, but it paints the possibility. So one is a human cryptoterrestrial, which is an advanced civilization that was largely destroyed by either a cataclysm or something similar, and they somehow hid from the rest of humanity, and they have been like this for a long time. Another one is the hominid or theropod cryptoterrestrials, which essentially is kind of reptilian and all that stuff,
Yeah, we've heard that, and we've heard the reptilian thing before too. But I gotta kind of pull from what Avi is saying. Like, where do these come from? Where do these hypotheses? Where do they come from? Do they just, I guess that if you've broken down these papers and you've looked at this, like, where did, let's say, Masters say, well, wait a minute here. This is what really is going on. This is what could be going on. Like, how do you come to that thought? Like, I just don't understand how you get there.
I think the most important aspect of this is that we're looking at something new that is happening within the scientific community. 10 years ago, we didn't have these types of papers talking about this openly,
right, from
universities like Harvard,
right.
And the way they're doing it, it's a study of morphology, of sociology, and anthropology. And they're just doing potential theories based on both accounts from people over millennia, which is an oral tradition, you could say. Mm-hmm. And another one is like the archaeological and paleontological studies that it's just really theories, to be honest with you. There's no proof that any of this exists.
Right, but that's what I'm saying though. Like, they could still be theories, but how do you get to those theories? Is what I'm saying. Like, how it's like, because I can come up with a theory, and I don't want to. These are Harvard, scientists and people who are way more educated than I am. But I'm saying I can come up with a theory today that says, you know what? I believe that this table is made out of cheesecake, and I think that this is actual cheesecake, and that's what it is. So I'm going to write a whole paper and say that this was actually made out of cheesecake. People will go, well, why did you say that? And I have to say, well, the reason why is because I looked into it and I realized that somebody made a table out of freaking cheesecake. I can taste it. Here it is. It's cheesecake. That's how I came up with my hypothesis. How did they come up with this hypothesis is my overall question, because it's like because your answer, and I'm sure that a lot of the answers right now is, well, it was a theory. But what made a Harvard educated person say, I'm going to write and publish a paper that aliens are among us?
Yeah, it's based on pre-existing oral traditions, pre-existing studies that have taken place for decades of paleontology,
Yeah.
and archaeology. And also, I'm pretty sure they took ancient texts into account to come up with some of these theories. So it's a lot of material from the outside that is not scientifically peer-reviewed, but it's nonetheless there.
So it's more research of things that they've kind of looked at throughout the years and said, okay, there's enough people talking about this, and this person who could be credible, this person that could be credible, that say this, and we add it all together, and what we take from this is our theory.
And also,
that this.
an important aspect of this is that there have been traditions, oral traditions, that have been similar between cultures that never shared time or space with each other ever, and they are one from hundreds of years ago and then another one from a couple hundred years later. They have similar oral traditions about a lot of this stuff, so they compared one account to another, and that's how they came up with some of these theories too.
Yeah, it loses me a little bit, to be completely honest with you. It loses me in a little bit, because because I think I need to be. I mean, look, maybe we can get Mike Masters on here to talk, and maybe we can get his opinion and his thoughts, and we can get a little bit more from the source as far as what led you down the path to work with the other gentleman to put this out, and confident enough to say, no, this is a theory that we believe in. This is a theory that we think is, pretty legit enough to where then you have someone who inside of the community is pretty well known and respected in Avi Loeb going, there's no proof there. You can't put that out there. Or not, you can't, but he's like, there's just, and because Avi Loeb even started it out by saying, it would be arrogant to say that we're not, that we're the only ones here. He said that when he was on this show. He said this, he says it all the time. He makes a point to say that because he believes, and you look at the thing that he wrote with Sean Kirkpatrick. You look at the things that he believes when he found the stuff in the ocean. Even though I think he kind of, you can tell me that I don't know if he contradicts himself to say he's pretty confident that it's otherworldly in other interviews, but I think in this particular one with NBC, he was like, I don't know what it is. It could be anything. I don't know. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I do think that there's a lot of merit into what he's saying, and that's why my question is how are you so sure? How are you so sure to put that out there? Because maybe it's just something you and I just don't know. There's a reasoning why, because this paper isn't the only one that has said things like this, right? And this is maybe why they wrote this paper, obviously.
And I think that one of the reasons that we're seeing this, it's at the very beginning of a cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as they keep doing these papers, they're gonna get better at trying to peer review and prove these hypotheses. But right now, since it's the beginning, we're gonna get a lot of these without unsubstantiated claims, and granted, a proper analysis and a proper investigation. Because, for example, the extraterrestrial model from Michael Masters, he took a lot of historical accounts of people who went through abductions, who went through experiences, and none of that is proven.
Right.
But he made his theory based on all of those experiences, I think that as long as we keep allowing for these papers to come up, we're going to get much better material down the line.
Yeah, I think so. It just, yeah, it's interesting because you do hear a lot of different things overall about what certain people say is happening, and then you'll get wild claims that certain people are really lizards and eating people and doing that, and it's like it's so hard to be like, okay, what are we trying to figure out here? Are we trying to figure out what's in the sky, or are we trying to figure out if the local bagel guy is gonna eat your face behind closed doors because he's an alien? You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
dude,
like
there's another one of these has to do with goblins and fairies and all
that's what
that
I mean.
stuff.
It's
You
like you're
know?
gonna lose people when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
but
that. Yeah, but
that doesn't mean that there's not an oral tradition of people who
no,
have reported
no,
these
of course not.
for millennia. You
Yeah, of
know?
course not. And I'm also not saying that you should disregard the paper or anything in general, because it very well could be a theory that turns out like, hey, guess who was right, guess who was wrong. I'm just saying that this is the thing that we talked about on UAP Tuesday the other day, which is it's our hour-long show that we do here every Tuesday. But it's one of these things. It's like baby steps with the public, man. You know, it's like
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out, first of all, I mean, I talked to somebody today who's into this subject and is curious about this subject and had no idea about the hearings, had no idea about, Chuck Schumer and Schumer and Rounds, and he had no idea about any of it. And we got to get people to know about that stuff first before a paper like this, or before NBC has Avi Loeb talking about aliens walking among us. Now, it's
Yeah.
just, and it's not the matter of whether it's legit or not. It's a matter of baby steps here. And I think what they're talking about with the disclosure side of it, of what Soul Foundation wants to do and what everyone else wants to do. And I have no problem with people writing theorized papers on it, but it's still, I don't know. It's just, it is a lot, and it's a lot. So but I do, look, we've heard Avi Loeb's side of it. I would really very much so like to talk to Mike Masters to see what he thought, what his whole side of this, of where he came to be on this particular paper, why he released this paper, or what, and the other side of the same thing that I asked Avi Loeb when I had him on the show. In the same way that you look at, that there have been other people that have gone, they're very highly prestigious people who have said things like this and almost lost their jobs. You know what I mean? Or been ridiculed. Is this one of those cases, or is it because this is becoming more mainstream now? It's like, no, go after that. We are in a different shift now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and I think it's a wonderful idea to speak to Dr. Masters, because he's like one of the most accomplished people who can talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And it will be a treat for the audience to hear from him directly and educate everybody on what he's actually doing and why he comes up with these theories. So let's hope it happens soon.
Well, let's see what we can do. Pavel, as always, thanks for joining me. We'll see you real soon.
Have a good one. Bye.
So there you have it. You've got this paper. You've got Avi Loeb saying, hey, you can theorize, but you got to have proof. Where do you stand on it? Because this story has been popping around for a little bit now, over the last couple of days, and it's been carrying, some weight. Where do you stand on all of it? Not only to stand on the paper itself, and stand on what was written inside of it. Where the overall idea of these things of like, this could be, if you're watching this channel, most likely you feel that there's more answers out there that we don't have. There's things that we don't know about. We as a species, we're so small, and yet we think we're so big. So ideas like this, of course, they fascinate us. Of course, the idea of it is something that you want to go, wait, really? But do you need more? Or do you go, no, I understand. If somebody like those guys can go and write this paper because they've done enough research to say, we think that this theory is exactly what's going down, then they should write it, and that's it. Where do you stand? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know. I want to thank Pavel for being here. I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It helps out tremendously. We've just hit 27,000 on the channel. We're looking to get to 30, aiming for 50. But if you can get us to 30 quicker than that, we'd appreciate it. We don't have a Patreon just yet. We're working on it. But what we do ask is if you guys, if you're able to support the show and keep us going on the air, get something for yourself. You want to eat healthy? Try HelloFresh. Let me tell you a little bit about them right now. And thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Hey guys, before you take off, let me tell you real quick about HelloFresh. I love HelloFresh. Do me a favor, ditch the meal planning woes and dive into HelloFresh's biggest menu yet. They have over 50 recipes and even more market items to choose from every single week. Discover limited time seasonal recipes from HelloFresh's Taste of Summer series like Old Bay shrimp and sausage or grilled steak lettuce wraps. They have so much more. I love HelloFresh. I've been using them for a while. And the stuff that they send, it really is just, I like seafood and fish, shrimp. I make fajitas. I do my own thing. You can follow their menus or their recipes rather, the stuff that they have. You can make your own thing. You do little variations. And it's exactly why I love them. Head on over to HelloFresh.com/DTE apps and you get free appetizers for life. One appetizer item per box while subscription is active. That's great. Free appetizers for life at HelloFresh.com/DTE apps. You'll thank me for it. Super fresh, super tasty, very easy, very convenient. It's HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, baby.